Alright, working on a John Deere 60. This is the tractor that these bearings in the back end, we replaced them. And we're gonna finish working on the transmission now that we got this part. See, we got it up in the air. We moved this, we used some braces from here to here. We made these up. That way everything's nice and sturdy. So anyways, we noticed that this seal back here was leaking. Right there. And your PTO housing pump here. So we went ahead and pulled that off. But you're going to find out that it's very hard to get that housing off because it's got two dowel pins in it. And they stick in about a 1/2 inch piece, and you will not pull it off by hand. So what we ended up doing, it took us a little time. So you can't, no matter what you did, you couldn't get that housing to move with those dowel pins coming out the back like this, because we don't have the rock shaft off, obviously. So what we did is, we actually did both of them, but we only needed to do one. That bolt right there, we took the bolts out, took the wires off, took the bolts out. We threaded this hole with a 7/16 20 National Fine tap. I used a long extension on into my ratchet. You didn't even have to drill the hole. The 7/16 tap fine thread fit perfect in that hole, so you didn't have to pre-drill anybody. So what I did is we tapped that, and then we take a wheel lug bolt, and we have a puller, a slide hammer puller, and we welded a nut to that, a bolt to that nut, and then screwed the nut to our slide hammer. And then we pulled on that housing with the slide hammer, just kept tapping it, and then that whole housing moved right off with the slide hammer. That's what worked. We just could not get that to move. And here is the old seal right here. You see it's quite thick, heavy duty. I tried the old screw trick I've done on a lot of seals, but this one's too thick and it wouldn't work. And it's a double seal. But the new seals are just, they're thinner, but we just use a double seal. Those, we put 2 of them in there. You could actually put 3 in there if you wanted to, but we put 2 of them in there. That should be enough. And now we're going to put oil back in it because, see that yellow oil? That's the 303 oil that was mixing with the rear end oil. And when we pulled this apart, there was 303 oil in here. So we knew that seal was leaking. It took us some time, but we're right here and we did it. It's a lot easier than pulling rock shaft housing off, believe me, while we got this apart. If you don't have it apart, it's obvious to pull the rock shaft off. So anyways, that's what Kenny and I did. And we double lip, put 2 seals in there because they're thinner, the new John Deere replacement seals, made by Chicago Rawhide or Federal Mogul, whoever you like. And we just doubled it and snuck them in there, put it a little bit past flush in there. So, looks good. We're going to put the wires back on the bolts because they were wired. And we'll be ready to go with this job. Finally, we're going to put this tractor together, get that rear end back up here today and get that back together. Then we're going to start putting the transmission back together. So that's where we're at with it. That's how we did it. We threaded that hole, not all the way, just threaded this housing right here on the end. I went in as far as I could with the tap, and then I put a bolt in there that I welded to my slide hammer nut. And then I just kept knocking it back, and then it got her. So where's that slide hammer at, Kenny? I'll show you our slide hammer. If you don't have one, they're a real handy thing to have. You can make one too. He'll go get it for us here in a second. And there's your rock shaft cylinder right there for your piston. And these are your bowl gears right here. And on the inside is where your axle seal is. So your axle seals are actually in here somewhere where the bearing is. But we checked for play in these bearings and we don't see anything wrong with them. So we're okay with them. And we did find 28 roller bearings in the bottom of this rear end. So somebody's been into it before when they put new bearings in it. This is our slide hammer right here. That's what we did. Just weld that nut. This is a fine threaded lug nut, and it fits on the slide hammer really well. And we just screwed that in there, and we got the hammer right here. That just slides back and forth right here. So then you can kind of take it easy with it because you don't want to break the housing back there. So just kind of nice and easy, tunk, 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 and pretty soon it'll move its way off. And just be patient with it. Remember, I said it before, anybody can break apart. So don't break apart. All right, that's it for now. We'll move on. We'll put the rear end together now. We'll clean this out first, and then we'll put the rear end back, the transmission back together.